Ahora tenemos a Kenneth Lacovara. Él es paleontólogo, ha descubierto fósiles, ha llevado su experiencia como paleontólogo a la impresión 3D y además es fundador del un parque de juegos que se llama Rowan Fossil Park.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Ken Lacovara, and I am a paleontologist, and I am the Dean of the School of Earth and Environment at Rowan University, which is in New Jersey in the United States. I've spent most of my career traveling around the world, digging up giant dinosaurs, working in Egypt and the Gobi Desert in China, and most of my work has been in southernmost Patagonia in Argentina. And in 2005 in Patagonia, I found a dinosaur which I later named Dreadnoughtus, meaning fears nothing, dreadnought. And Dreadnoughtus has turned out to be the most massive land animal for which we can calculate a weight. It's 85 feet from snout to tail, that's 26 meters, it's about 2.5 stories at the shoulder, and all fleshed out in life it would weigh 65 tons. That's the mass of about 9 T-Rex, or about 10 tons heavier than a Boeing 737. In my talk today, I talked a little bit about Dreadnoughtus, but I talked a lot about the contingencies in Earth history, how for us to be here, for all of this to be here, innumerable minuscule events have to happen at just the right moment in time and in just the right order, or none of this is here. So we're all really lottery winners the way I look at it, just the fact that we exist and the fact that our species exists. And, you run that 4.5 billion year movie back and play it over again, and it's never going to turn out the same way around. And so I think what's really important about paleontology is, it was Winston Churchill who said the further back you look, the further ahead you can see. And the world right now is facing multiple existential crises that have to do with climate change and environmental degradation and sea level rise and a host of other issues. And the answers to the responses on how the Earth is going to react to that, they're in the fossil record. And so we need to understand the past, or else we're just sailing blind into our environmental future. And I hope also that the fossil record provides cautionary tales, because you can see that species don't last forever, and extinctions do happen, and we're a species, and we're not necessarily immune to that. And we have to pay attention as we go forward in time. Well, as I said in my talk, I think everything matters. And you don't always know the consequences of your actions. And so I think it's really important to live a mindful life and to try to do good. Sometimes your good actually can have unintended consequences and result in bad things. But we can see pretty clearly right now that we have major problems with our environment, and, we need to get our carbon output under control. We need to smartly develop coastlines. We need to look at biodiversity, which, if a paleontologist 50 million years from now looks at this time, it's going to look like the world's 6th mass extinction. That's how many species are going extinct, and that's how rapidly. And then in terms of individual numbers of animals, not species, but numbers of wildlife individuals, we've lost 2/3 of them since 1970. It's absolutely shocking. And I don't know why people are talking about this. I listened to all 3 of the presidential debates in the U.S. There wasn't a single question about the environment, not a single question about climate change. That's going to look very foolish to the people 50 years from now when they look back on this time. Birds are dinosaurs, right? It's not correct to say that birds are closely related to dinosaurs. They are literally dinosaurs. And the way evolution works, when organisms evolve from one form into another, they don't get rid of the parts of DNA that they're not using. Those parts are just deactivated. And so a bird like a chicken has a lot of non-avian dinosaur DNA in it, so it actually has the DNA that knows how to grow teeth, and knows how to grow claws, and knows how to grow a tail, and that sort of thing. So it seems as though it's possible, and this is happening in a number of laboratories right now, to turn on those dormant dinosaur genes in a chicken embryo and to get them to grow teeth and a tail and such. Now this thing will never be, it will still be a chicken. It will just be a chicken with those ancient dinosaur genes expressed. I think Jack calls it a chickenosaurus. So that's happening. It's not a question of whether it's possible or not. That is happening. The idea, put out there in Jurassic Park about recovering dinosaur DNA, that's probably not going to happen. I would never say never, But DNA is water soluble, and the oldest DNA recovered so far is about 700,000 years. What we can do now, we're doing this at my laboratory, we recover ancient proteins. So we routinely now recover blood vessels and blood cells and proteins from dinosaurs. And proteins have hereditary information in them, so you can sequence those proteins, and you can build family trees from them. You can see who's related to who. And the goal there really is, we're looking at barcodes on fossils at that point. So you find a little scrap that wouldn't be useful before, sequence the protein, and you say, oh, I didn't know Triceratops was in South America. It's a problem. It's a problem in many countries in the world, but science denial is a particular problem in the US, and it's very, very alarming. And, the idea that humans and non-bird dinosaurs coexisted there's no evidence for that. It's a crazy idea, really. And, there are people like in Kentucky who started this creationist museum, and they report that the Earth is 6,000 years old. The Egyptians invented beer earlier than that. There are trees living in Norway today that are 9,000 years old, and I'm not a botanist, but I'm pretty sure that we don't have trees that are older than the actual planet. But if you think the Earth is 6,000 years old, then all of a sudden it's not only geology that doesn't work, but physics no longer works, and chemistry no longer works, and astronomy no longer works, and essentially it's a medieval point of view. We know better than that now. We know that the Earth is old. That's a fact. We know that organisms evolve. That's a fact. And, you can have your opinion about how we should teach things or respond to things, but you don't get your own facts, right? And so when I talk about evolution, I try not to say, and I caution people not to say, you don't say, I believe in evolution. I don't believe that. It's a fact. Has anybody ever asked you, do you believe in gravity? So evolution is not a belief system. It's a fact. We can see it in the fossil record. We can see it in the wild. We can see it in laboratories. And natural selection is the main mechanism that explains the fact of evolution. Well, there's been a long-running battle going back to the Scopes trials in the United States about the teaching of evolution in the classrooms. It was outlawed at one point in Tennessee. The most recent significant ruling on that was in Pennsylvania, the Dover trial, and the federal judge there ruled that school district could not teach intelligent design, which was just repackaged creationism. They ruled that particular district could not teach it and could not teach it forever, for the future as well. But as my colleague Adam said about an open society, it's the same with this. This is a battle that we're going to have to fight generation after generation. It's not going to be done. And what happens is that the forces of misinformation, they get knocked down, and then they repackage their wares, and then they put them out there again. So every generation is going to have to fight that battle of modernity versus this medieval view, essentially. Well, it's very alarming from what I know about the vice president-elect. He is a proponent of creationism. He has advocated for the teaching of intelligent design in schools, which is an anti-scientific position. And, I'm worried about a host of scientific issues with respect to this new administration. The idea that we might pull out of the Paris Accord is extremely alarming. President-elect has talked about eliminating the Department of Environmental Protection, the organization responsible for protecting our drinking water and our air and, getting the toxins out of the ground. And so it's really all very alarming to scientists. And I think I hope scientists are waking up to the fact that it's not enough to go into your laboratory and do your experiments and publish your little technical papers that only other scientists read. The scientists really need to get involved in a larger sphere to help educate the public, but also to advocate for the positions that we know have to happen for us to have a better future. So yes, I'm alarmed by it.